Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome the former WBO heavyweight champion of the world. It is, of course, my good friend, Mr. Joseph Parker. Joseph, welcome back on the show.
Thanks for having me on, as always.
Hey, it's always my pleasure, Joe. So we last spoke back in November. At the time, you'd just beaten Simon Keane. I was complimenting your performance. I said it was the best you'd looked in a long time. It was starting to really look like a fabulous partnership with Andy Lee was finally in full flow. What I did not expect was you to be fighting anyone too good of a fighter just 6 weeks later. You gave me a couple of names. I don't think Wilder was one of them, but how wrong I was. I mean, a massive fight. Before we get to it, you flew from Saudi to New Zealand, obviously, after the Keane fight. How much travelling did you do around that period? Because 6 weeks to prepare for Wilder isn't usually enough at the best of times without the crazy long-haul flights and the fact you just had another fight.
Yeah, listen, you know, when you put it like that, it wasn't the longest time, but because I was already in good shape and I've just come off a good camp and a good win, I spent a week and a half back home in New Zealand with my wife and kids. Got the phone call saying there was a few options of, I think Zhang was an option, there was a few other options, and then they said, oh, Daniel Dubois was an option, then they said, sorry, we don't think that's an option. I think Wilder's looking for an opponent. Do you want to take the Wilder fight? So one thing led to the next. I called Andy. Andy agreed. I agreed. And then next week, like 2 or 3 days later, I was on an airplane flying to Ireland, flying from New Zealand to Dubai to Ireland to start a 6-week camp for that fight. So it wasn't the longest time, but I was already in shape and I had good momentum in camp. Just finished with a good win and on to the next fight. But it was a big, big fight.
It was mega. And Joe, please put into words that unbelievable performance, obviously beating Wilder just before Christmas. You didn't really take a right hand all night. You ducked underneath it pretty much every time. The game plan seemed to be absolutely flawless.
You know, when we came up with a game plan, we practiced it and we executed it in training and inspiring. And you know what was crucial? You know, I did 3 weeks in Ireland. And I trained very hard, sparred with a lot of top guys there. Then I flew to England for a week and sparred Tyson and got his views on what we should be doing. And him and Andy came up with a game plan. Then we came to Saudi Arabia for 2 weeks before the fight and sparred with Lawrence Okoli. And we did some great training. And then the week of the fight, Andy and I met at the gym. And he says to me, Joe, I think we have to fight fire with fire. I said, what do you mean? He said, when he throws the right hand, you have to throw yours. And I said, Andy, crazy thing is, I was just been thinking the same thing. And then we started working on this countering as soon as he threw his right hand, throwing ours. And it's incredible. It's incredible to go out there in the ring and to execute a plan that we've been working on. Obviously, throughout the whole camp and in fight week. And putting on a good performance was the best performance of my career. And there's a lot of credit goes to the team, Andy Lee, George Lockhart for all their hard work. And then obviously myself putting in the work and just training very hard every day. It was good. It was very good.
It's the most happiest I've been watching a fight for as long as I can remember. I was screaming at the TV every time you had success. Yeah, you know, obviously you went in as the underdog. You were really, you know, kind of viewed as a stepping stone for us to finally see Joshua Wilder. You tore up the script. You upset the odds. Where does that win rank amongst all of your wins? Does it top, you know, the Ruiz fight for the world title? Or?
You know, winning the world title is the best feeling ever because that's what every fighter wants, to be champion of the world. But I think at this time and beating Wilder and knowing what Wilder has done to all the other fighters, and being able to, you know, like you said, coming in as the underdog and sort of ripping up the script, I think this tops them because of the audience, you know, everyone that was watching, and it was good. It was a good performance, and I went home, celebrated with the family, had 2 weeks off, and then I was straight back into camp again.
Yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, like I say, just I cannot stop talking about how great a win that was. My last real question on that fight, you did seem to tire a little bit late on in the fight. I was worried because in those last 2 rounds, Wilder started to get desperate. And as we know, when he's desperate, he's even more dangerous than when he's actually thinking about things. Yeah, just talk to me about that. I mean, how did you feel in those last couple rounds?
Not so much tired. I just Andy always in the corner just reiterated how important it was to stay focused and not get too careless, and also just your eyes always had to be open and be aware of what was coming back. And he did try put like Andy did say to me the last 2 rounds, he's going to try put it on you and get a knockout. And I was always very cautious, and I was prepared whatever he came with. And he didn't listen. He landed a few shots, but he didn't land anything clean. It would have been a different story. But he does punch very hard. I caught a few right hands on the gloves, and I thought, you know what, this guy can punch very, very hard.
Yeah, for sure, my man. And yeah, I was going to ask, where are you now? But I know you're in Saudi. Yeah, who's out there? Because I didn't know that you were there. I thought you'd be in Ireland.
I'm in Saudi Arabia with Andy Lee, George Lockhart, and just my massage therapist and my brother, and we're here to prepare for the big fight we have with Zhang on the 8th of March on the undercard of Joshua versus Ngannou.
Yeah, so you got there pretty early. Okay. But yeah, let's look forward to that. Let's look ahead. Not long to go now. As you said, March the 8th, back in your new adopted home. You'll be boxing Zhang. Obviously, Joe Joyce stopped you in the past. Zang stopped Joyce twice. If you beat Zang, does that diminish your loss to Joyce slightly, maybe?
I think it does. Oh, hey, listen, styles and boxing styles do make fights, and everyone has their great days on fight night, and everyone has their bad days on fight night. And like you said, I did lose to Joe Joyce, but I've come a long way since then, and he's had 2 tough fights with Zhang, and Zhang is coming in with full confidence into this fight because of the work that he's done with Joyce and seeing what Joyce done to me. So it's one of those fights where, again, I'm the underdog, but we are putting in the work we need to put in to be the best prepared for Zhang and the best Zhang that's going to come on fight night.
And yeah, I had not even 100% confidence, but 200% confidence that Joyce would beat Zang. I felt Zang was tailor-made for Joyce. Big, slow, not as tough as Joyce. And I was made to look an absolute fool on both occasions. You're obviously the underdog, like you said, again, just like you were against Wilder. Stylistically, without giving too much away, how do you see this fight playing out? I think it's going to steal the show.
I feel, with Zhang, he fights like he's a power puncher, as we can see with the work that he's done with Joe Joyce, but also in the other fights, And he used to tire in a lot of his fights, whereas we see now, as recent times, he doesn't really tire as much. Maybe he's found his magic weight, maybe he's found the right conditioning, maybe he's found the right box. I don't know what it is, but he's changed a few things where we've seen a lot of improvements. And with Zhang, I feel like you have to be very smart with him, same as Wilder. You have to box and move. And he fights in spurts, Zhang does. And he's very sharp. So it's going to be a challenge, but it's a challenge I'm looking forward to.
Yeah, you're right. He did used to tire like crazy after a couple of rounds, and he seemed to kind of, just fiddle his way, more and more rounds as they come, fighting in spurts. You've got the much quicker feet, the much quicker hands. I feel like you're going to cause major problems for Zhang. I also think, obviously, you've got a fantastic chin that will stand up to his power if you're caught in that situation. You don't want to be there too many times. I'm very confident you're going to upset the odds here, Joe.
Well, listen, Zhang, I heard in an interview, like I did say that I fought Zhang as an amateur back when I was about 20 years old.
Oh, I didn't know.
And Zhang was about, 28, 29 years old. And I do remember he was just a big man. A lot has changed since then. And I just feel, like you said, Zhang did tire in the past, but maybe he's found the right people now and the right training and the right formula that works for him. And I feel like I've found what works for me now. I got Andy Lee as a head trainer. I got George Lockhart doing nutrition, strength and conditioning, recovery, and I feel like now everything is more balanced in my training and in my schedule that now I go into fights, I'm not overtrained, I'm not tired, and I'm full of energy, ready to rock and roll.
And who won that fight in the amateurs, Joe?
Zhang won. Zhang beat me 4 or 5 points, whatever it was, but it was a long time ago.
Yeah.
And it's a different time, because at that time I had no proper trainer, no nutrition, no guidance. Whereas now I have everything that I need. So there's no excuses. There's no worries. There's no like, I'm not nervous or anything. I'm just eager to get in there and get to work.
And you've obviously been a champion, Joe. Are these the kinds of fights that, even if they aren't for a world title, still whet your appetite to the fullest? Obviously, we've seen you in massive fights with the likes of Dillian White, the 2 with Chisora. you're having massive fights with Wilder, no titles on the line, but that you're still able to get up for them.
These are the fights that I get up for. These are the fights that that push me in training. Like when it's a big challenging fight, and when it's a fight where the odds are against you, it's like, oh, you want to push that much harder, you want to train that much harder, and you want to just do everything right, because these fights are the ones that make you like excited and get you amped up. And I'm really amped up for this fight.
And how do you see the main event going, by the way? Joshua Ngannou, in my view, people are getting a little bit too carried away with how well Ngannou seemed to do against Fury. Obviously, you said it earlier on, styles make fights. It doesn't necessarily mean this will be a super competitive fight. But what do you think?
I feel that Joshua this is what he does. He boxes, his whole life, whereas Ngannou is not. It's not the first sport that he chose, but he has been training for the longest time, and he's put in some great work. And like we saw with Tyson, it was an off night for Tyson, and it was a great night for Ngannou. And just what this fight is like, it's an interesting fight because Ngannou can take a big shot, he can take elbows and kicks, and he can take punches. So it's we haven't really seen him hurt. So it'll be interesting to see if Joshua can hurt Ngannou in this fight with the power that he possesses.
Yeah, and also that nagging question, if Joshua is lacking confidence and things get hairy, gets caught with a big shot, things are going to get very interesting very quickly. Just before we let you go, Joe, if you've got any closing words to the listeners, like I say, always great to have you back on. I think we've been doing these interviews since the Takam fight, if my memory serves me.
That was 2016, a long time ago. But just before I leave, I just want to say, I appreciate everyone that always tunes in to support the boxing, to support your channel, to support everyone that's involved in the sport. And we keep being involved in the big fights, and we'd love just to put the best fights we can on for those that are watching and those who are supporting us. So thank you all for the support and for the love. Tune in for a major fight card that's going to be exciting, and I'll talk to you guys very soon.
Absolutely. Listen, Joe, we love you as a man. You're a super cool guy. We love you as a fighter. It's clear that you will fight absolutely anyone. You've proven it time and time again. As always, the pleasure's mine. Thank you for your time. Best of luck on the 8th, and we'll speak soon sometime afterwards.
Speak soon, brother. Thanks very much, Joey.